Hello and welcome to today's video from the estate on Wednesday the 4th of February, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, but I spoke about Keir Starmer and the Epstein files in my second video, and I said he only got the job of the Director of Public Prosecutions because of Prince Andrew. Now, when he got the job, I think in the circles of power, you know, I think it was well known about Epstein, and when he was nicked in, I think, was it 2007, 2008 sometime, it was widely known about Prince Andrew as well, and how close the two of them were. And I believe Keir Starmer, as I say in that video, got the job and was groomed specifically for that job to protect Prince Andrew from being extradited. And I say that because of the people who he defended from extradition, like Abu Hamza and quite a number of extradition cases to America and other parts of the world. But if he would defend the likes of Abu Hamza, you know, he would defend Prince Andrew, and the thinking would have been that you can't call me for blocking his extradition when I've already blocked his and his and his. So, you know, why else would he get the job as Director of Public Prosecutions? Because I'm going to go through the timeline of his legal career, yeah? And finished university about 86, 87. Spent about 9 months to a year studying civil law, and then joined Middle Temple Chambers, which was basically a training chambers for would-be barristers, and they would do 6-month theory and 6-month practical. And around about 1989, he became the legal officer for Liberty, which at the time was a civil liberties defence group. You know, they brought civil liberties to the the public, and how wrong this is and how wrong that is. But he was their legal officer, and it was a pro bono job, which means he did it for nothing, and he spent 12 months there. And during this time, he's also at Middle Temple Chambers, and he's doing his theory and his practical, like it's a driving test, you know what I mean? And in 1990, a new chambers opened called Doughty Street Chambers, and this chambers employed about 30 barristers, and at the time, Keir Starmer was declared a top of the range and brilliant human rights lawyer. Now, I find that hard to believe, considering he'd only just got his certificate to be a barrister. So he'd not done any cases. He like I said, he'd worked 12 months at Liberty, and that's about it. So declaring him brilliant, to me, is like, it's like he was paid to say it. But guess what? he worked with Sherry Blair for 10 years. So from 1990 to 2000, he was working with Sherry Blair, the wife of Tony Blair, who at the time was the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Now, I tried everything. I Googled it. I put search parameters in on the internet, trying to find a connection between Keir Starmer and Sherry Blair because of the human rights law that was signed into effect in 1998 under Tony Blair. And you can't find anything. And then just by chance, I did it again one day, and it told me that Sherry Blair and Keir Starmer worked together for 10 years. Now, they're both human rights lawyer. They both work for Doughty Street Chambers, so they're sharing basically the same office. And she spent a lot of time on the European Convention on Human Rights. And I can't imagine for a minute that he wasn't helping her. And in 1994, when John Smith died of an heart attack, 5 minutes away, by the way, 5 minutes away from the best heart hospital in Britain, he died. Yeah, it took over an hour for an ambulance to get to him, I think. That's if memory serves me right, and I think it does, because I couldn't believe it at the time that he was only 5 minutes away from the best hospital. And guess who takes over? Tony Blair. Now, we all know what Tony Blair is and what he did, even in 2003 and the lead up to 2003 Iraq War. You know, the lies he told, the bullshit he threw at people, the propaganda. And if his wife was such a human rights activist, she wouldn't have allowed that, would she? You know, and neither would he. But I believe for stopping his objections to that, that specific timeline, he became a QC. So 12 years after becoming a barrister, he's a Queen's Counsel, yeah? But that wouldn't have just been enough. I think he was being specifically groomed to become the Director of Public Prosecutions, not because of Prince Andrew, or maybe it was, maybe with him being Prime Minister, he had access to information from MI6, MI5 about Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. And as the timeline went further on, it became even more apparent, especially to the corridors of power, about Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. And in 2008, now, by 2008, Tony Blair had left the Prime Ministership to Gordon Brown. But, like I said about legacy, yeah, he got Keir Starmer the Director of Public Prosecution's job specifically to protect Prince Andrew from the fallout of what was going to happen to Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah? And lo and behold, Jeffrey Epstein gets arrested 2008, and within a couple of years it's everywhere about Prince Andrew and him. Now, when you sell your soul to the devil, yeah, you sell your soul, you're not getting it back. And because he sold his soul for the Queen's Counsel and the DPP's job, they seen someone who they could manipulate. And I also think that, you know, the elites had blackmail material on him. Don't know what about, but maybe these Ukrainian models know what it's about. Maybe Ukraine plays a bigger role in politics than the others believe, and that's why they, you know, they're so staunchly behind Zelensky. Maybe he's got all the shit on everyone. Not because he was part of Epstein's gang, but because of what elites in Europe and Britain were up to. And, you know, Ukraine's a former Russian, well, Soviet satellite state, so they was well versed in blackmail and honey traps, and that's what I think went on. Now, I've already been proved right about the Epstein affair, kind of, and Prince Andrew. Yeah, no matter what anyone thinks, I know that that is right. And when he left the job, I think it was 2012, yeah, he then became a Knight of the Realm. He's done absolutely nothing. He did nothing to become a Queen's Counsel, and he did nothing to become a Knight of the Realm. He never performed anything specific that benefited the United Kingdom. All he's ever done is take the government to court for illegal immigrants to be housed and financed while they are running their human rights refugee, you know, like the asylum cases, yeah? Now, if anything, he should have got nothing because of the trouble he's caused this country. And look at the trouble he's caused since becoming an MP. He couldn't become an MP. He became an MP in 2015, but he never joined the Labour Party till 2014. That's just mind-blowing. Absolutely unbelievable that I can join the Labour Party today and tomorrow be an MP, but not have to fight for the seat. He's given basically the safest Labour seat they had, you know, and not only is he given the safest seat, yeah, he then gets top of the range jobs in government. Not to start with, because that'd look too obvious, but he ended up being on Jeremy Corbyn's election campaign team, you know, and you don't get on them teams unless you're playing the same game as them. So he's lied his way into that job, and when questioned about it, when he was going for the leader of the Labour Party, yeah, because Jeremy Corbyn lost the election, lost the Labour leadership, and in the not the election, but in the electoral bit to become the leader of the Labour Party, he actually said that he only worked for Jeremy Corbyn because he knew he'd lose. Now, who in the right mind works for somebody or does something, yeah, when you know it's going to fail? Why would you just wouldn't do it, would you? Because it should tarnish you, not elevate you, should lower, but it didn't. And the next thing you know, is the leader of the Labour Party. Leader of the Labour Party. He's only been an MP and a member of the Labour Party. Well, a member of the Labour Party for 7 years and an MP for 6. Or it might be 7, 8 years, roundabout. But the fact of the matter is, Why would he get the leadership of the Labour Party? He got it because he could be manipulated by the globalists and the elite, because he was one of them, yeah? Maybe he didn't realise or understand what selling your soul means, but he soon got to find out. And then next thing you know, Bump is an MP, not an MP, sorry, he's the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Prime Minister. Wow, it's just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And he becomes the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And first thing you know is he don't just back Zelensky. Whoa, he's throwing billions at him. You know, this 22 billion black hole in the economy that was left by the Tories, this so-called black hole, well, I don't think it was a black hole. I think that money was already put aside for the Ukraine, you know, because he had no choice in it. I absolutely believe, with all my heart, that the globalists, the elitists, and the people that make decisions about where your country goes and what it does have blackmail and material on Keir Starmer that would not only get him arrested but would get him locked up. You know, I'm not going to say that I know what he did, but let's just look at the people, the Ukrainian models who set his car on fire on his front door of his former house, and then an house that belongs to Lord Ali, the same guy who I believe we met at Liberty when he was their legal officer, because Lord Ali, just an open homosexual, yeah, would have been using Liberty to influence government strategy on the homosexuality and what's right and what's wrong. And also, during COVID, look where he was, Keir Starmer, Lord Ali's gaff, yeah? Look where he said his son was staying, Lord Ali's gaff. Who buys his clothes? Lord Ali. Who buys his wife's clothes? Lord Ali. You know, bought his glasses, styled his hair, probably even brushed his teeth for him. You know what I mean? Don't have to wipe his ass. It's not that bad that he'll wipe his ass. You know, he'd let him do that himself, because he's full of shit, Starmer, and trying to wipe his ass, it's going to end up all over your arm. So they're leaving him to it. But look what he's doing to the country and what he has done. It's unreal, you know. Helping Donald Trump with Venezuela. And by that, I know he was there helping. Might have only been at the back, but he was there, you know. He helped him take the Russian tanker, the empty one that they chased all around the globe. You know, he was involved in that. You know, he said he's going to try and change the law so that they can do it to more Russian ships. He's MI6 leader, Blaze Dobolowski or something. You know, the Ukrainian descent whose dad was a butcher in Ukraine, responsible for the deaths of, could be 500,000 people. Who knows, you know. And he let her become MI6 chief. He let Mandelson become the ambassador to America, and the most sensitive job in diplomatic circles is the ambassador to America. Donald Trump didn't want him, and we know why, because Donald Trump seen him at the Epstein parties, and Donald Trump knew there was nothing they could do about the Epstein files being released. You know, he could stop it and block it and halt it, but he couldn't forego it. You know, eventually they're being made public as they are doing now, yeah? And it's brought down Mandelson. God knows who else. Max Sweeney might be next. You know, but I reckon the majority of Parliament have all been through Jeffrey Epstein's island. You know, look where he's from, Epstein, New York, and now they're trying to say he's a Russian asset. Come on, man, give me a break. You know, I mean, it's just unreal. You know, he blatantly talks about in the files about regime change in Russia and with Putin. So how's it working for him? There's not a chance on this earth. So what was happening is we're all being led up the garden path. And this garden path, fuck me, it's long and windy and it's windy and it's scary. Not for them, because they're safe in their, you know, ivory towers. You know, they might live in a glass house right at the top of it, but they're safe, we're not. We're the ones who suffer. And me, coming from the estate, I'm the first one to cop for the lot. You know what I mean? And if I can, I don't know, survive, then I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm the cockroach. You know, like a cockroach survive a nuclear war. Well, us off the estate, we will. And that'll be the worst thing that happens if there's a nuclear war. Oh, God. Because it's quite possible, you know. I know you might think, it's not a chance, but listen, America, Europe, do you think all what's going on in Europe with Ukraine and the Europeans saying, oh, we're going to be peacekeepers, come on, I know we can't do nothing, yeah? Even if we voted him out tomorrow, the next person in is going to do the same. You know, there's nothing we can do. All we can hope for is to survive, you know, and if we do survive, we will be lucky. You know, Putin's bent over backwards not to send the Reshniks all over Europe and to the United Kingdom and America. Do you think Putin doesn't know what the Europeans and the Americans are doing? Hey, do you think Trump can't stop what the Europeans are doing? Of course he can. You know what I mean? Look at the propaganda we're being fed. Hey, today's headlines, Zelensky, Putin broke the energy truce. Trump said the other day, Putin fulfilled his obligations. He said that to the press. You know what the press are saying? Putin broke the energy truce. Putin phoned Trump and begged for the energy truce when Trump said, I phoned him and asked him, you know, it's cold and I'm happy to get a week. You know what I mean? They're now saying it was a winter-long energy truce. You know, that might as well have a ceasefire. And it's something the Russians have said, no ceasefire. Yeah, they might give you a humanitarian helping hand here and there, but only because the Ukrainians are all related to Russians, apart from maybe a few who are not really Ukrainians. You know what I mean? The Tatars and Dons I think they call, aren't they? You know, and possibly even Cossacks. But they're not, you know, they're not Ukrainian. So I'm just glad I've been proved like I said. I will say I am sorry for what happened to the victims of Epstein. But, you know, it's our elites, it's European elites, it's the European Parliament elites. You know, there's thousands of them. There's tens of thousands of them, you know, and, oh, you can't imagine what they've got up to. What I will say is this, is that when these files were released, yeah, the Department of Justice in America denied releasing photographs of dead bodies and murders and atrocities, right? They did not release videos or pictures, but they didn't deny having them. Now, there's 3 million files, they say. You know what I mean? A file can contain not one piece of paper, containing page upon page upon page of things concerning individual people. I think they've said up to now Donald Trump's been mentioned now, 38,000 times or something, 3,800. I don't think it's 3,800. Or he might have 3,800 full, you know, files on him. Not mentioned, files. And I think it's the same with Keir Starmer. The people who run Keir Starmer, hundreds of former British members of Parliament and even long-standing members of Parliament. You know what I mean? Now it doesn't look so crazy, does it, what Biden was up to? You know, Biden was, oh, he was bad, you know, but he was also stupid. And that's what the presidents and prime ministers want now in their parliaments. They want idiots, you know. Stupid does as stupid says. And that's what's going on now. Now, I'm gonna sort of end this video, but this is the first video of the day, yeah? By tomorrow, there'll be 4 or 5 videos available concerning different current affairs, what are going on, different terrible things that, you know, are all steering us away from what are going to be found in these Epstein files. I mean, well, we've got a small government, haven't we? You know, we're only 300 miles long. You know, America's got runways longer than us. And we're in it. You know, not just we're in it. You know, wow, Mandelson walking about and his wife runs like he's in a jail cell. And hopefully he should be. And maybe he will be. You know, his husband, who was his then boyfriend, taking $10,000 off Epstein. What for? Eh? To learn some course for making you feel better. A well-being course. Yeah, get to fuck. You're full of it. And anyone who believes in this stuff, I feel sorry for you. Please take a little bit of time out and think proper. I know there's nothing we can do about it, so that doesn't mean you've got to stick your head in the sand. Well, your head in your phone, you know, on your TikTok or your X or YouTube or whatever, you know, because all this is all being locked in place. Pretty soon, you won't be able to say what I've just said. You know what I mean? Kids won't be able to watch it up to the age of 16. Now, yeah, that's a good thing, yeah? But what they're saying is you're not going to be able to look at social media till you're 17. Yeah, and when you're 17, the year after you vote, how are you going to see the world for what it is? And for hopefully how you can change it. If you can't, you know, be allowed to view the behaviour of the so-called adults in the room. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. And please, subscribe. If you like anything or share anything, please do. Yeah, not because it helps me. Yeah, it doesn't help me. You know, I'm not doing this for money. I can't ever see me earning money for nothing. I've never earned a penny in my life for nothing. So just get the word out. Let people know what's going on. You know, you don't, even if you don't share it verbally. Tell your relatives and the people close to you. Let people know exactly what's going on. Because without people talking and letting people know, then they just carry on with the same behaviour. Anyway, as I said, I'll leave it here for now. But by tomorrow, there'll be plenty of videos and you can make your own mind up whether you like them or not. But I'm going to bring a few things to people's attention. Not educating them, because I think most people know what's going on in the world. They just choose to ignore it. But if it can be bombarded at you like propaganda, why can't it do the same job as propaganda? You know what I mean? This is not propping up an agenda. I have no agenda. You know, what do I get out of it? Do you think I'm going to become an MP? Or a civil servant? Nah, not a chance, is there? So please, like, subscribe and share. Take care, my friends, and I will speak to you in the next video. And please, if you've got any comments, leave them for me. If you've got any ideas about something to look at, something, you know, I'm nearly 60. I've seen a lot. I've got a lot up here. You know, I'm not suffering from egomaniaism or narcissism. I'm just suffering from pissed offism. Take care and bye-bye.